Hello, welcome to Prophetic Worship Soundbites. I'm Elizabeth Cooper, and this is where we talk for 5 to 10 minutes on a certain subject or question pertaining to prophetic worship. Today is going to be a short video. It's the first one that I've ever done, but I'm going to be releasing these periodically and hope to talk about some exciting things and address some questions that are common with even the worship leaders that I mentor personally, questions that come to me within the church community, places that I travel, common questions and not so common questions. There's a lot of questions, and honestly, we need to go deeper in worship. And if you haven't checked out my website, www.elisabethcooper.com, it is spelled with an S and not a Z. Elisabethcooper.com, spelled with an S and not a Z. If you go there, you can read some of my blogs where I talk about, I began to sort of unfold and talk about the foundations for a movement of prophetic worship that would shift the church into a new era. And I've been leading worship for 17 plus years, probably 18 years by now. I've been saying 17 plus years for a little while. And so I've been doing this a while, and I have always been a worship leader who primarily moves in spontaneous prophetic worship. That is my gift. That is my mandate. That is my call. And so that is what I do. But there are a lot of ideas about what prophetic worship is. And I want to just give you a clear-cut, straightforward definition. And that is, prophetic worship is worship that is connected to the heart of God in every moment and moves with the movements of his heart, says what he says, does what he does. It is worship that is in connection with the Spirit of God and moves with that. That can take on many, many forms. A pre-written song can be prophetic worship. It can be what God is doing in the moment, in that moment, with these specific people at this specific time in this specific place. That could be the thing that is moving on the heart of God. And so again, it can take on many forms. It doesn't always have to be something that is spontaneous, something that is a little bit more out of the box. But the thing is, as worship leaders and as worshipers engaging with prophetic worship, we need to understand that what we're doing in a corporate setting as a whole is coming into unity with the Spirit of God. And as we do that, we will be in unity with one another. There is a myth of unity in the church, what unity is, especially in regards to worship. And I just want to address that real quick, because it's one of the myths that pops up that people sort of rebuttal, doing a lot of spontaneous stuff that is not pre-written, get really out of the box, instrumentally or whatever. And so you'll hear a lot of times, people, pastors, really, you name it, anybody in the church, you will hear at various times people saying, worship was so great today. We were just all in unity. And really all that was happening was they were singing the same song. And there was a lot of, there was a higher maybe volume, it felt better to us, whatever. And so that is actually a myth. Yes, being in unity, we can all be doing the same thing, but that is not a prerequisite for unity. In fact, if you look in the scripture, anytime it talks about unity, it never says that they were all doing the same thing. It actually says that they were all of one heart. They moved in one accord. And so when we move in into places and realms in the spirit together. We may not all be doing the same thing or singing the same words, but we are in the same place and we are in unity with the Spirit of God and with each other, and powerful things can happen from that. So what is prophetic worship? It is any kind of worship that is connecting with the heart of God in the moment and moving with that. And so it can be releasing a prophetic word that the Lord is speaking. It can be, instruments that prophesy. It can be a pre-written song. It can be a crazy dance breakout session. It can be all sorts of things. And if you've seen me lead worship, you know that it doesn't always look the same. There are many, many things, and we endeavor to, of course, I'm not perfect in this, but my goal and my heart is always to follow the Spirit of the Lord. What is He doing in this moment, in this time? What does that look like? Does it look like singing, a hymn? It could. That could be what the container for the Spirit of God in that moment. Does it look like, singing something that has never been sung before? It could. And that could be the container for the Spirit of God. That could be, we're marrying into what the Spirit of God is doing and how He is moving in this moment, in this time, in this place. And for me, that is a very simple breakdown of what is prophetic worship. We can make it so complicated, and everybody's got their own expression of what they think prophetic worship is, and we can get locked into, even as worship leaders who are leading in the prophetic, we can get locked into this is what prophetic worship looks like, and this is what, this is how we move or whatever. But what the call of the worship leader who is going into prophetic worship is to always be co-creating with God. And God is eternal. He is unexhaustible. And so the expressions of Him are unexhaustible, and we must be mining the treasures of the heart of God in our worship. We must be delving deep into what the Spirit of God is doing in this moment, in this time. Have we ever done it before? Maybe not. It could be this spontaneous thing we've never done. This is an expression I've never participated in as a worship leader. I live for those moments, and I live for those moments even in my personal worship, because as worship leaders, and honestly, I'm going to expand this to the body, because the body has got to get a hold of all of these concepts just as much as the worship leaders if we're going to go together. So if we want to engage, it behooves us all to really learn and really submit our hearts to engaging with the Spirit of God and with the new things and with the new sounds, and being okay with being uncomfortable. And we'll talk about that in some later videos. But real quick, I just wanted to sort of introduce this new series that I'm going to be putting out, little sound bites on prophetic worship. And hopefully this brought a little bit of clarity as to what is prophetic worship. If you have questions, please post them below. I'm going to post this on Facebook. I'm also posting this on my YouTube. So either way, post your questions. If you have questions about prophetic worship, about worship in general, I'm going to be doing some other series that don't have to do with worship. They have their other kingdom concepts and things like that. So I'm going to be doing some of these videos and releasing them, some teachings and things like that. But for now, if you have questions, ask them. I would love to have discussion and to hear your thoughts as well. So blessings on you. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.